Have you ever told yourself, I will never do that again? But somehow, you find yourself making the same mistake again. You trusted the wrong person again. You postponed something important again. You got angry and said something you regretted again. Or you kept repeating a habit you desperately wanted to change. Why does this happen? Is it because we don't learn from our mistakes? Not necessarily. The surprising answer is hidden inside the way our brain learns, remembers, and responds to rewards. Let us understand the science behind it. Welcome back to our YouTube channel, Vyapti Curious Minds. Your brain learns from experience. Our brain is constantly learning. Whenever we experience something, networks of neurons become active. If an action produces a pleasant or rewarding result, the brain can strengthen the neural pathways associated with that action. This involves a chemical messenger called dopamine. Dopamine is not simply the pleasure chemical. It plays an important role in motivation, learning, and reward prediction. For example, imagine you check your phone every few minutes. You see a notification. Maybe it's an interesting message. Your brain learns. Checking my phone might be giving us some rewards. So the behavior becomes easier to repeat. Over time, the action can become almost automatic. And that's where habits become powerful. Habits can run on autopilot. Many repeated behaviors follow a simple pattern: cue, behavior, reward. For example, you feel bored. That is the cue. You open social media. That's the behavior. You find something interesting. That's the reward. Your brain remembers this connection. The next time you feel bored, the urge to check your phone can appear automatically. And here is the important part: you don't always consciously decide to repeat the behavior. Your brain has learned the pattern. This is why simply saying, I won't do it again, maybe it's not enough. You have to understand what triggers the behavior in the first place. Why we repeat emotional mistakes? But what about mistakes involving emotions? Why do we sometimes keep choosing the same type of relationship, reacting with the same anger, or making the same impulsive decisions? One reason is that the brain often relies on familiar patterns. The familiar can feel easier to process than something completely new. Imagine someone who always reacts to criticism by becoming defensive. The next time they receive criticism, the brain may quickly activate the same response: criticism, threat, defend yourself. The person may react before you have had enough time to think. This does not mean the behavior cannot change. It means the old response has become well practiced. The good news? The brain is capable of neuroplasticity, the ability of neural connections and networks to change with experience and learning. That means new patterns can be built. Why knowing the mistakes is not enough? Here is something fascinating. You can know about that behavior is bad for you and still repeat it. Why? Because knowing something Intellectually and changing a behavior are two different processes. For example, you may know that procrastination causes stress, but when an uncomfortable task appears, avoiding it can provide immediate relief, and that relief itself can reinforce the behavior. Your brain learns when I feel uncomfortable, avoiding the task makes me feel better. So, next time the discomfort appears, you may want to avoid it again. The short term reward wins over the long term consequence. This is one reason humans and sometimes choose immediate rewards over future benefits. How can we break the pattern? So, how do we stop repeating the same mistake? The first step is not simply try harder, because instead become curious about the pattern. Ask yourself, what happened just before I made this mistake? What emotion was I experiencing? What did I do next? What short term reward did I receive? Once you identify the pattern, you can change one path of the cycle. Change the cue, change the behavior, or change the reward. For example, instead of reaching for your phone when you are stressed, take a short walk, breathe slowly, or talk to someone. Repeatedly choosing a different response gives your brain an opportunity to learn a new pattern. So, why do we keep repeating the same mistakes? Because our brains are learning machines. Sometimes they learn useful patterns, sometimes they learn patterns with rather change. But here is the hopeful part. A repeated pattern is not a permanent destiny. Every time you see pause, notice the trigger and choose a different response. You are giving your brain a chance to learn something new. So the next time you make a mistake, don't just ask, why did I do that again? Ask, what pattern is my brain learning? Because understanding the pattern in the few steps toward changing it. This is Vyapti Curious Mind signing off. Keep questioning, keep learning. Save Earth, save life. Thank you.